America's Godzilla of truth. All week long, he's world-renowned for his proficient proclivity to prophesy the people's political picks with pinpoint precision.
Yeah, baby!
Then, on the weekends, he gets with the guys that are pretty wise, and Godzilla wins. Godzilla Wins, the sports picking show for winning dough. Money lines, parlays, over-under, the best plays. You choose the game, Godzilla picks the winners. Get expert analysis, exclusive insights, and have a little fun. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Godzilla Wins, on the screens of your TV and favorite devices, commanding radio airwaves far and wide. Before you make that play, hear what the Godzilla crew has to say. Presented by WestVirginiaSportsNation.com, it's time for Godzilla Wins, all across the John Fredericks Media Network. Oh yeah,
for entertainment purposes only.
Well, great, good Saturday morning to you all. Joining us, Brendan Statler, Will Saxman, second child born from the throne there, and Kyle Carrington coming in from Pittsburgh as well. I think we all have something in common here, a little bit Pittsburgh. We got a little Venn diagram this morning. Brendan, you're in West Virginia, correct, sir?
No, I'm actually in Washington County, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So a little south of Pittsburgh, a little north of Morgantown, West Virginia.
Gotcha. Know where Washington County is. Kyle Carrington, originally from Detroit, now coaching a JUCO team there in Pittsburgh.
Yes, Community College of Allegheny County, a junior college.
Nice. And Will Saxman, who's going to be in Pittsburgh this week with FedEx.
Yes, sir.
Lived there for a couple
sir.
years. How long were you there, William?
2 years. 2 years living right there on the North Shore, about a 15-minute walk to PNC Park. So I was able to, hit a lot of those games, Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, all throughout my time there.
All the goods. And myself, a native-born Yinzer. I was born downtown at McGee Hospital. And so it's great to see everyone on here talking sports this morning. 2 hours of great sports talk. We're going to get into Pete Rose, number one sports conversation of the week. We could talk Cooper Flagg probably going to the Dallas Mavericks. We could talk NBA and NHL. But when this one bumps up, you got to give some time to discuss Pete Rose. Now, y'all are of a different generation, a different era. What are your thoughts on Pete Rose before I get into my final deliberations? Let's start with Kyle Carrington. Where are you on Pete Rose?
I mean, you want to see the integrity of the game protected. So you don't want it to seem like it's nothing for a guy to be betting on games. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame conversation, I think that you cannot knock what the guy has done. 4,000 hits, 2,125 runs, 300 batting average in his career. So as a baseball player, I think he's a Hall of Famer. And I think that some things need to be forgiven just because looking at the evidence, he never point shaved. He never bet against the Reds. So I think that looking at the evidence, give that guy his Hall of Fame. I mean, that's where I go with it.
Forgive and forget. Move on. He performed well on the field.
Yes.
If you're putting that on a bumper sticker, is that where you go? Forgive and forget.
That's where I'm going.
All right, let's go up to Brendan Statler from Washington County, PA.
Yeah, I think Kyle summed it up perfectly. You look at his numbers. Clearly, Pete Rose did not point shave. He was not sandbagging in any way, shape, or form. So I think that the way Major League Baseball handled this, waiting till after his death to make him eligible for the Hall of Fame, is honestly tragic. This should have happened a long time ago. Pete Rose should have been able to live to see himself inducted into the Hall of Fame. Should have happened a long time ago.
Will Saxman.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Brendan and Kyle here. I've always thought that the best thing to do in this situation with Pete Rose is separate the player from the coach. And when he was a player, there was no doubt that he was one of the best players in MLB history. So on that alone, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It definitely should have come at a time when he was able to celebrate it and hug his family and, for him to experience it. The way that the MLB has handled it, to wait till after his passing, to wait till gambling became legal and everyone is now doing it. Of course, not the players and the coaches now, but I understand why those rules and regulations are in place, but that was only after he became a manager. So why can't we just judge the player for what he did? So I've always said he deserves to be in the Hall. If you want to put an asterisk on his plaque and say that he gambled as a manager, I don't think the fans really care at this point. So I believe he should be in the Hall, but I believe that it should have happened a long time ago as well.
John Fredericks, host of the weekly daily show, The Daily Show, John Fredericks Media Network, burgeoning network, spanning all across the country here, well known, and just one of the people I admire in the world of politics on a daily basis. John Fredericks, where are you on Pete Rose?
First of all, Chris Saxman, you're doing a great job hosting Godzilla Wins. I love coming out as a panelist. I don't like hosting it when they have to hoodwink me into it because nobody's available. So you're doing a great job. Great to see your son here. Great to see Brandon Statler, which I got to tell you a story about a little bit later on. And, of course, Kyle, good to have you back. One of the greatest ball players that ever lived. I remember as a very, very small boy watching the Reds play the Mets on TV as we lived in New Jersey. And I was 6 or 7 years old. And I remember he got a walk. Seaver or somebody, Kuzman, walked him. This was like 1968. I was like 8. And he ran to first base, like he sprinted to first base. And I asked my father, I'm like, well, I thought you just jog to first base or walk, whatever I said. And my father said, oh, no, that's Charlie Hustle. That's the way he plays the game. He was one of the greatest ball players that ever lived. And to not have him be in the Hall of Fame because he gambled and bet on his team. I mean, I gamble and bet on the Astros every day. Won last night, lose the majority of the time. And now to have him inducted after he's dead. I mean, baseball is just the suits in New York are such ass hats. I can't stand any of them. I can't stand Manfred. He should have been inducted in his time, gambling on his own team. Who cares? Like Kyle said, he was not shaving points or anything. It was ridiculous. Happy he's in. Deservedly so.
Well, he's not in yet. Still has to be voted. He's now eligible to be voted in.
Well, yeah.
Right. I'm going to take a different take here because I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He broke a cardinal rule of Major League Baseball, which is well known throughout baseball, posted throughout all the locker rooms. You do not bet on baseball. The integrity of the game is at stake here. That's why people show up. I'll tell you a little anecdote. A friend of mine's father is in the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, right? He goes to Little League games and fixes the games. And he takes a friend with him, and he bets on the game against his friend, knowing the game is fixed. Is that right or wrong? Of course it's wrong. We all know that. The question is a matter of the problem with Pete Rose is a lack of contrition. He never apologized to the game, the fans, the teams, anyone. He barely admitted it, only to make money to sell a book. Now, his accomplishments on the field are, without question, Hall of Fame level. But when the players take the field, the fans have to know, and we all gamble here, we all talk about our bets, that the game is straight, that the game is on the up and up. Otherwise, you break down what is the most important thing about, one of the most important things about baseball is I think it's rules. And the rules make the game. That's why we have robo umpires now, where we call the balls and strikes. What is fair? What is not fair? Is the game being played fairly? Is the game rigged? We can't have rigged games. Can't. It's a breakdown of society. Now, if Pete Rose said, what I did was wrong. I should never have gambled on baseball, and I apologize, and I seek forgiveness. That, as a Christian, is the way to live. We all make mistakes. Mistakes it's impossible not to make mistakes in this life. Some more grave than others. When you go to confession, it's called, if all the Catholics on here are listening know, it's a rite of reconciliation, right? It's called an examination of conscience. Pete Rose had no conscience when it came to gambling. And he should have been given that chance in a public setting to say, Pete, this is your last chance. If you don't confess to what you did to harm the game of baseball and regret what you did with contrition.
I don't think he harmed the game. And nobody got up one day and said nobody didn't go to games because it was alleged Pete Rose
opened the
was,
door.
was
I think he opened the
gambling
door.
on his team,
No.
Off the bullpen.
That's what we
phone.
know. That's what we know because he didn't confess. He said, "I only bet on my team to win." How do we know that, Pete?
Because that's what the bookmaker said.
That bookmaker. The man was betting $10,000 a night. You don't think you're having side bets in other games? Look, we don't know. He didn't confess. He didn't own up to what he did to harm the game.
No, he did
and
bet
hurt
other.
the game.
He did bet other teams. He just
hurt
didn't
the
bet
game.
against his team.
He hurt the game.
I don't think he did. So we're never going to agree here. He was one of the greatest ball players ever. The purpose of the Hall of Fame is who is a great player, and that's the purpose of it. What are your statistics? And Pete Rose met all of those, and so I don't agree. I think
this is where I completely
you're trying to put morality into the decision. Like, okay, so Mantle shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he was a drunk, right? You want to say that, or he cheated on his wife allegedly, from what Jim Bouton said in Ball 4, so he shouldn't be on. Now we're going to get into his personal morality. What the hell do I care? It's none of my business.
No.
All I
It's
know
not
is my
about that.
father took
Like
me
I
to
said,
see
John,
Mickey Mantle
what I
at
said.
Yankee Stadium play center field. I don't care if he got drunk that night.
Mickey Mantle was contrite about his drinking. Mickey Mantle knew it harmed the game.
You're a moralist.
No, I'm not.
Baseball
No,
moralist.
I'm not. No, I'm not. What I want in what my faith demands is to confess what you've done wrong and try and go forth and sin no more. And all Pete Rose had to do was recognize what he did harmed the game. And the game should reward him for that and celebrate. This is the prodigal son. He had a chance to be the prodigal son. He refused every single opportunity to address what he had done wrong to harm the game. And it opened the floodgate for a lot of problems, I think, in baseball, including the steroids era. Because everyone said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as you hit the home runs, as long as you make money.
It doesn't matter. That's what it's about. Well,
that's wrong. Well, that's fine, but I think the steroid era was wrong.
Your father's insufferable. Do you have to put up with this every day? Well,
I do. It's fun for me. It's fun for me. But I would just ask my dad, where does it rank? Because Barry Bonds became eligible before Pete Rose. And do you take cheating
that's right
on the same level as gambling? Because I don't think that these two are really the same.
Good question.
It's a great question.
Good question.
Look, I don't think Barry Bonds should be let into the Hall of Fame either until he says what I did was wrong. Be the prodigal son.
You think a simple apology just changes everything when it comes to
apologies
the rewrite history?
The apologies aren't simple. If they're an act of contrition and you truly believe what you did was wrong, that is important in our society. And it should be reflected in our games as well, because so many people look at the games as a way to conduct their lives. And if we can't have our fellow man admitting them when they were wrong and going forth and doing, we're never going to get better. We're only going to get worse because people get away with breaking the rules. If we're going to allow people to come across the border, I'm not going to go politics here on you, John. I know you don't want that in the show, but if we say we're going to be a nation of laws and rules, and we're going to, behave this way, so we can all.
Hey, can we move on because we're not going to agree? And
okay,
you're outvoted 1, 2, 3, 4-1. So you represent 20% of the panel.
Well, I'll say that the voters, I don't think the voters are going to let them in. They seem to agree with Dad on a lot of these issues, and it's a very sacred fraternity, the Baseball Hall of Fame, more so than any other sport, I think. So I don't think the voters are going to give it to him, but I think we can all agree at least on one thing, and that's Rob Manfred making it now after the guy died. That's sickening.
I agree with that. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Hey, we're all in agreement.
And if they change the rule,
he's a total asshat.
If they change the rule and put an age limit on, like you're banned until you're 70, 75, I'm completely fine with that too.
Yeah, me too.
But the rule said lifetime ban. Let's understand that. That's what the rule he broke. He understood it going in. He knew it was wrong. He did it anyway. Let's move on. If we can. But William, you brought up something that I wanted to comment going back on it. And we'll get back to it later, hopefully. NBA draft. This is a hell of a shift. NBA draft. What do we think of the lottery system there, Brendan Statler?
I kind of go back and forth on the lottery systems because, and this isn't just for the NBA. This goes for NHL too. I'm not a huge fan of the lottery process, but it's one of those things that's never going to go away in the sports where it's already instituted. I think there's just too much shady business with it, if you want to call it that, or fans lose trust in it. Essentially, I mean, you just go back, talking about hockey real quick. There are a lot of people that swear up and down that the NHL draft, where the Pittsburgh Penguins selected Sidney Crosby, was rigged in favor of the Penguins. Now, does that stuff go on? I mean, possibly. Money talks. See how we tied that into the first conversation a little bit. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but as far as the process goes, but I'm excited to see what Dallas does. I think it's a given they're going to go with Cooper Flagg. They're not going to pass up on him after the Luka debacle we saw this past season.
Kyle, what do you think there?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm a fan of the lottery. I think it adds suspense to the draft every year. And also, it kind of gives an incentive for teams not to tank. I don't think that protects the integrity of the game when teams lose on purpose almost to get lower lottery odds. So I think that seeing a team like Dallas having a 1.8% chance of getting the number one pick and getting the number one pick makes teams be like, wow, so why should I lose every game? I'm not even guaranteed to get this player or that player when it's a generational talent coming in. For Dallas' sake, I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, maybe the trade do work out now. You get Luka for the Cooper Flagg, somebody who's a two-way player who could be a generational talent himself, along with paired with Anthony Davis. And when Kyrie Irving get healthy, Dallas they're sitting in a good position right now. So I'm excited to see what they do in the West.
All right, Will Saxman.
Well, I think that if you have the lottery system, there's always going to be the rigged, right? That you're going to have to talk about that at some point with certain outcomes. And then you have what we have in the NFL, which is, worst team gets the best pick. And then you have teams coming down the stretch, resting their starters, trying to lose games that we've all seen over the last couple of years. I think that the lottery system in the end is better. But then you're going to have these rumors that, or, speculation that comes out that, did Dallas do the Luka trade, get him to LA to boost up the NBA's ratings to then get the number one pick? Was there a backdoor deal of some sort? I don't think so. None of that can ever be proven. But in the end, again, I think that the net positive here is going to go to the lottery system. I wish it would have been another team. The Wizards had the worst record in all of basketball. I think they didn't even get a top 5 pick or the 5th pick. So, crazy to me, but it incentivizes teams to play all games, and all games matter in the sport. And that's what, to tie it back to, like you said in your last segment, all the games need to matter. And we have to trust that all teams are trying to win those games. And it's not the case in the NFL week 17, 18 nowadays. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, if you're going to have a system, people are going to try to rig the rules no matter what the system is. That's the nature of humanity.
True.
John Fredericks.
Listen, I like the lottery system because, like Will says, it stops teams from tanking, and we saw a lot of that in the NBA. But they've also got a hard salary cap. There's parity going on. I mean, the big story here is obviously Dallas is going to get Cooper Flagg. I think they're going to be a good team, really good team next season. I was the only one that commended their trade for Luka. The guy doesn't play defense. He doesn't work hard. They didn't want him in the locker room. They got rid of him. And is he playing on a championship team now? Answer, no. So, the guy just doesn't win games. So I like that pick. I think Dallas is going to be great. But the big story here in the NBA is not Dallas and Cooper Flagg. The big story is the Knicks. I mean, the blowout last night at home, just everybody picked Boston to get in the championship finals, and they got
the sweep.
They got killed. Everybody picked Boston, and then Knicks killed them, and then the Pacers get rid of the Cavs. So you look at the Eastern Conference, it's like, let's make NBA exciting again. I mean, I was done with the NBA after Black Lives Matter on the half court or whatever they had. I couldn't stand it. I stopped watching it. But after the West Virginia baseball debacle last night, I went to the bar with Ann, and we had so much fun seeing those Knick fans win. Pacers beat the Cavs. This sets up an improbable Eastern Conference Finals that nobody saw. Nobody picked in their brackets Pacers, Knicks, nobody. And then you look at the West. You got a game 7 tonight in Denver. Anybody's game. So all the legacy teams are out. Boston's out. Cleveland's out. Clippers are out. Lakers are out. Golden State's out. All the legacy teams are out. And
It's a great year.
It's going to be, it's going to be fabulous because you're going to get Pacers, Knicks versus Denver or Minnesota. And I think Minnesota's going to beat them. I think we could see Indiana, Minnesota. That, like, whoever saw that coming?
God. Well, let's
nobody on this show.
Let's put a bow on the lottery. I'm fine with the lottery. It's relatively insignificant, I think, in the long run because players move around so much from team to team. You take Luka off the top. Look how many times LeBron James has switched teams. And I don't have no problem with it. Although we'll go back to the Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City to go play for the team that just beat him. That was one of the darker days in the NBA history. But I do think there's a little bit of a renaissance going for the NBA, having. And I think gambling has helped out because it makes these games somewhat more meaningful for the average viewers. Like, do I really want to watch the NBA, Knicks, Celtics? I'll put money on that. And you start paying more attention to it, right? Even if you put 10, 20 bucks on, which is basically my frame of gambling, it makes it more interesting, more fun. You pay attention more often. And so I think, the lottery, it's fine. The balance of play, it does prevent tanking, which is good. But to your point, John, wow, this is going to be exciting having the Knicks beat the Celtics. What? For the Knicks, long-time suffering Knicks fan, killed them.
What did they win at home last night by 40 points? I agree with something you also said, Saxman. And, Will, just so you know, I call your father Saxman. I agree with you, Sax, on gambling has really juiced the NBA a little bit. Because, you turn a game on in the fourth quarter, you're laying 5.5. Who the hell knows what's going to happen when they start fouling at the end or jacking up threes? I mean, without that, I think it definitely has made it better. I think it's made hockey better. I bet every single hockey playoff game. I can't help myself. I bet them all. This is so much fun.
It's so much fun.
I think they've, and by the way, Winnipeg is going to win tonight, force a game 7 at home, and they're going to win the whole thing. Sidebar.
Ooh, wow, that's a
Dallas
big sidebar.
Dallas Stars winning the Stanley Cup.
Hang on. We'll get there. We'll get to where we're gonna. And gentlemen, we're going to come up with a consensus bet for our audience that we all agree on one bet.
Never happened.
Tonight and tomorrow, we're all going to say, "Yep, that's the ride." We're all going to ride that one, and we'll have a great time. But John, going to William, what William said earlier about what he and his older sister, will do. We'll say something in the group text of our family group text, like we call it Wayne's World, and they'll text each other offline and go, "Watch this." And they'll do something just to piss me off, knowing I'm going to hit the roof.
It's so easy. It's so easy. It's too easy.
You gotta be able to push his buttons. Like we all know on the regular show during the week, we all know how to push Saxman's buttons, and we do it every time. And it's so funny. And then we know the people that push his buttons. My political director, Christine Bowserman, committee woman from Virginia, Patty Lyman, former Congressman Bob Good. These are the people that all push his buttons. It's hilarious to watch.
Couldn't agree more.
I am not without opinion. I will say. But one of the things I've learned over the years, and thankfully for my college friends, I hope they're listening, I want to thank them for leveling me all the times that they call Bravo Sierra on me to get my head completely out of my backside, which is very healthy. And they go, "Damn, you take this shit you take this stuff way too personal." I'm like, sometimes it just matters more than others, right? So let's get back. Let's move into the NBA since we're talking about it. How about those Knicks fans, long-suffering Knicks fans, finally getting a win in a series over the Boston Celtics? Kyle, let's talk about that.
I'm excited for it. Actually, I just watched the Reggie Miller versus the New York Knicks documentary. So I just watched that documentary in the 90s. It was a big rivalry.
Great.
So to see that rivalry come back and renewed with Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, some young talent, it's awesome. I'm not as shocked as everybody else about the Celtics. I didn't think that they would beat the Celtics, but I thought that this Knicks team was built to compete with the Celtics. They got wings to compete with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I know the Tatum injury happened, but that happened after they were already going down 3-1. So I don't want to hear the Jason Tatum excuses. I think that the Knicks they built their team in the offseason. Their general manager deserves a lot of credit. Built their team in the offseason just to compete with the Celtics. That was their goal. They got OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns to compete with Porzingis, which he was a no-show this series because of some mysterious illness, but still no excuses. I'm excited to see the Knicks and the Pacers. I like to see the teams that nobody projected to be here. Even the Pacers taking out the Cavs. I love to see the underdogs. So I'm excited for it. And the Knicks did a great job at just lowering the what word should I use? Just taking down, being a giant slayer. That's what I'll say. Being a giant slayer.
That's a great. Will, Kyle and Will, you all have something in common there. You both, coached or managed at the collegiate level. William was a manager for the South Carolina men's basketball team when they went to the Final Four. Okay. So he's known and worked with NBA players. Will, what's your take on Knicks Celtics?
So like Brendan, I was on the sweep before the series. I thought the Celtics were going to destroy them. Felt pretty good even after blowing a 20-point lead in game 1. Then they blow a 20-point lead in game 2, and then game 3 is that the one that they win, and then they lose game 4 after Tatum goes down. Unfortunate, definitely for being a Celtics better, but this Knicks team, I mean, they play hard, and they play hard for the entire 48 minutes, and that's what makes them fun to watch. But like Kyle said, I think that the stars on this team really are on the defensive side of the ball. When you're talking about Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges, they can guard anybody in the league right now. And I kind of get into it with my Knicks fans buddies about I'm not the biggest Jalen Brunson guy or Karl Anthony Towns. I think even watching last night's game, those guys might have missed their callings as soccer players. They flop around, they look for fouls even when they're on. Like, it's ridiculous to me. But everybody else on that team, I mean, they've really come together. I think that they're going to beat the Pacers. I think they're going to be in the NBA Finals. But ultimately, I think the winner of this is going to come out of the West, whoever it is. I think the Nuggets OKC game tomorrow is going to be an awesome watch. I think Denver's going to keep it within the 8 as it was what the spread is right now. But I think Anthony Edwards, like guys like that, SGA, Jokic, like we're talking about superstar caliber players, and I'm not sure that the Knicks or Pacers have anything to really compete with that in the end. But congratulations to the Knicks. I mean, their fans are going crazy right now, and it's awesome to see. But I think it does come to an end in the NBA Finals, but for them to get to the finals would be a pretty awesome sight. And I think it's good for basketball for the Knicks to be good.
To have that media market doing that well. And, as a kid, the Knicks were like my favorite team. I played for the Knicks at the local YMCA, and they were sort of my adopted team. And I wasn't ever an NBA guy. And there was always a soft spot I had for the Knicks. And when I lived in New York City, I'd walk down to Madison Square Garden after work, and tickets were so cheap, you just walk right in. So I've always had a soft spot. And so it's kind of nice to see them come back, because if they were my team, because I would probably root for them.
Did you see
Brendan,
him? Did you see him, Chris, in the old Garden or the new Garden?
The old Garden.
Yes, same here. Old Garden, you could just buy tickets at the window, walk in. But the thing about the Knicks, for those of us that grew up in the area, I mean, they have so many legacy players. Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, Willis Reed, Joe Frazier. I mean, Walt Frazier. I'm sorry, Clyde. Walt Frazier, Dick Barnett, Phil Jackson. Then, of course, you go to the later years where they had Bernard King, right, who was unstoppable. Patrick Ewing. I mean, they had so many legacy players, and of course, they were in that big market, so they were just a tough team to ignore in that rivalry with Miller. Having said all that, I love Indiana in this series. This is your classic letdown, right? I love the Pacers. They kind of sneak in there. They beat they dismantled the Cavaliers defensively, dismantled them. They're very tough at home. And but I agree with Will on the Denver game. I guess that's tonight, right? I mean,
That's tomorrow.
There's no way tomorrow. There's no way I'm going to lay 8 on a 7th game. There's just no way. And Denver's good, so I think that's a way overlay on Oklahoma. I think this game is going to be tight. Nobody would be shocked here if Denver won this thing, and I'm getting 8. I'm going to take the 8.
Aaron Gordon is hurt though. He's not playing. So that's
he's out.
Aaron Gordon is out supposedly.
Well, I'm going to tell a brief anecdote, and then we'll go to our sponsor, My Pillow. But when I was living in New York City, this is I think 87, maybe 88. I went to a game with the Knicks Bulls, and we had almost courtside seats, 4 rows off the deck, mid court. It was fantastic seats. Michael Jordan's playing for the Bulls. Kenny Walker puts up a baseline jumper on the far side of the to my left. I can still see it. This is 45 years later, right? Kenny Walker puts up a baseline from the baseline jumper midway down. Michael Jordan took off from the lane and jumped to block the shot. I kid you not. There was a foul called. There was a foul called as Kenny Walker is going up to Kenny Skywalker goes up to take a shot. He is fouled on the way up. The whistle blows. Right, guy puts his arm up. Foul on the play. The ball is still in the air, and so is Jordan. And everyone's watching it because the whistle blew, right? And he spiked this ball deep into the stands. And I kid you not, the entire Madison Square Garden audience went, holy blank. And it was
he's something else, man.
He was something else.
That was good. Those back in the day with those teams, a lot of the kids on our panel now don't remember that, but that was just legacy NBA basketball. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Let's go to My Pillow, John. What do you got for us today?
Listen, the segment of Godzilla Wins is sponsored by My Pillow, which has been our legacy sponsor since the day we started. They believe in what we're doing. And Mike Lindell right now at My Pillow has one of the greatest Giza sheet sales you're ever going to get. $49.95. All sizes, all colors, anytime, any place, right now. Spend over $100, you're going to get $100 in free digital assets from them that you can use later on. But $49.95, you got a king, you got a king cow, you got a queen, you got a double. It doesn't matter what it is, any color. $49.95 a set. This is one of the greatest sales from My Pillow you're ever going to find. He's got overstock. Look, Mike Lindell, he has no middleman. That's why you get the tremendous savings. And, we sleep on Giza sheets every night. Got him in Pittsburgh, got him in DC. Just phenomenal. You're going to feel better. Joe's got him. Jack's got him. Claire's got him. Just go to mypillow.com/Godzilla. mypillow.com/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla. Got to put the promo code in. Promo code Godzilla. $49.95. New Giza sheets. Any size, any color, until they run out. And when they run out, they run out. I checked on Friday if I could still do this promo. Dawn said they could probably run this through Monday, and then they're going to be out. So jump on this now. mypillow.com/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla. $49.95. Greatest sell in history.
I'm going to back you up on this, John. We have My Pillow sheets, My Pillow pillows. I think got towels too. We were sitting around during COVID watching all these commercials going, yeah, let's just order. What the heck? It was like one of those. I wish we had the promo code to save some money and support the great Godzilla of American radio waves here. And so I recommend them. They've worked out well for us, and I'm glad they're a sponsor of your show. Let's switch over to the NFL schedule release. One of the, it's like the great weeks in the NFL. We have the draft and then the schedule release, and everyone watches it, right? We're all paying attention to social media. Brendan Statler, what did you see in the NFL schedule release that you liked?
Nothing I could say that I really liked or disliked. I'm more surprised. I cannot believe that it looks, based off the strength of schedule, it looks like they've given the hardest schedule to the lowly New York Giants. What are they doing to the Giants? The Giants haven't been good since 2012. And you go through and you look at their schedule. This looks like the toughest schedule. Of course, they have Washington. I refuse to call them by their current name. They have Dallas, which always has their number. Divisional games, no problem. Then they have Kansas City, the LA Chargers, and you just go down the line. They got Philadelphia twice, of course, their division. I mean, the NFL must hate the Giants because this is going to be an even more disastrous year than they usually have. And the easiest schedule appears to be the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I know the 49ers had a off year last year, but I'm not ready to call the 49ers a bad team. I mean, they still clearly believe in Brock Purdy. They just gave him a new deal, and I expect them to bounce back this year. So it just surprised more than anything. It just seems so backwards with the strength of schedules for this season.
Yeah, I don't cry for any team that gets shafted on the NFL strength of schedule because there's so much parity in the league anyway. Let's be honest. I mean, we're talking marginal differences, and when you're in that division that they're in, they normally only have one or two teams that are difficult. But now that the Commanders are a real team, that makes their schedule all the more difficult. Kyle, did you see anything in the NFL schedule that stood out to you?
One of the biggest takeaways for me is the NFC North guys' schedule. They play the AFC North this year, so that's going to be tough. And then they got to play each other. So the NFC North guys, the Lions, Vikings, Bears, they all got a tough schedule, and I'm excited to see that. But a thing that I think could make a surprise this year is the Tennessee Titans. They got the third or fourth easiest schedule, and they're in the AFC South. I think they can sneak into the wild card. So,
I love that. Music to my ears, baby. Let's go,
sneak into the wild card.
Let's go. Let's sneak into that wild card, baby, or maybe even win the division. I'm with Kyle here. I looked at that schedule. I had to pinch myself. I'm like going through these games. I'm like, yeah, we can win that game. We can win that game. We can win that game. Cardinals, yeah, they suck. We can beat that game. Seahawks don't have a quarterback. Yeah, we can win that game. So, there's a lot of games here that we can win. But if you live in Minnesota, the Purple People Eaters are now like green beer, right? They take two home games from the fans in Minnesota, and they get 2 straight weeks in Europe across the pond. They got a game in Dublin, and then they got a game in London. So, hey, start drinking at 6 a.m. for those 10 a.m. games on the West Coast. It's like a Vikings fan. It's like, what? I got 2 games over there. Now, I'm going to bet them in the second game. I don't care who they're playing. Who are they playing? Somebody find out for me. I'm going to jot that down, bet them in the second game, because the teams that stay in Europe for 2 weeks, that second game, they have a huge advantage physically. But that jumped out at me. I'm like, what the Vikings are going to move there, right? They turned purple to what? Green beer. What is up with that?
William, what'd you get on that the NFL schedule? What jumped out?
So the one that did stand out to me is going to be, and I hate to say it, but the New England Patriots. I think they have the third easiest strength of schedule, and they start out at home against the Raiders. They're at Miami, at home against the Steelers in Carolina. They go at Buffalo, and then they go at the Saints. I think there's a decent chance that they win 4 or 5 of those games, and Vegas has their win total right now at 7.5. They also have the Falcons in there. They have the Jets twice. So to me, if you're looking for a little bit of value, I think that the Patriots got a pretty good draw, and I think Drake May might take a pretty big jump in year 2. They finally drafted some offensive line there. They got Stephon Diggs as well. So they're boosting up their receiver core. So I think they could take a decent jump in year 2 with Drake May.
Let's talk about the amount of NFL games over in Europe this year. Extraordinary amount of games that obviously the NFL is moving into that market, doing well for them. That stood out to me. One of the things that I saw on one of the memes on social media were the amount of primetime games this year. Kansas City, of course, leading with 7, but coming in dead last, tied for dead last, the New Orleans Saints and the Cleveland Browns with 0 primetime games.
And the Titans.
And the Titans.
So the Titans should not have a primetime game. I mean, stop, right? Come on, man. We won 3 games last.
We all want to see Cam Ward.
Like, let's just get off. It's kind of like Pam Bondi, right? Get off Fox News and go do your job. We need to no politics. We need to get off. We need to get off the primetime schedule and just go out there, grind it, and try to win 9 games and sneak in the playoffs. But I'm with Kyle. Hey, Kyle, you have to come on the show now every single week forever. You're a brown noser, Kyle.
Well, I mean, I think Nashville, once it cracks the top 50 media markets, should have a compelling reason to be a primetime game.
Oh God, I got to go to the opener though. I got to go to the opener. I asked Cam Ward play the home opener. I got to go there. Nobody would go with me though. I can't get Ann to go. She's like, I ain't going. They suck. Joe's playing baseball in college. He doesn't go with me. Jackson, Phoenix. He doesn't. I got nobody go with me.
John, that second Dublin game is against the Cleveland Browns, so the Vikings was going to win anyway.
It sounds like they're going to cover too.
Lay the points in cover.
That's a cover. That's a hard cover right there. What about early playoff predictions? Who's your reach for a playoff berth this year? John Fredericks. Don't say Tennessee.
No, Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. Arizona Cardinals. Kyle Carrington. Who's your reach in the NFL playoffs this year?
I gave you the Titans already. For the AFC, I'm going to stay in the AFC, and I like the Patriots.
Will, you going to back that up?
Yeah, I am. I think it's the Patriots as well. They seem to have all the pieces, and you see a decent jump in year two with a lot of these quarterbacks. So I think if that happens with the pieces that they drafted around Drake May, it's definitely possible. So, I think Miami takes a step back. The Jets stay the Jets, and those are pretty. It's an easy division. You still got the Bills, but I think that they have the schedule to do it, and I think they make the playoffs as well.
Fair analysis. Brendan Statler from Pennsylvania.
I hate to pick the Patriots since both of you guys did already, but if you'll remember a couple weeks ago, I praised the Patriots draft choices, and I even said a couple weeks ago, wouldn't shock me for a second they sneak into a wild card. I love Drake May. I think he's going to completely bring he's certainly not going to be Tom Brady, but he's going to make the franchise competitive again. So I'm going with the Patriots for that.
I don't think Drake makes the franchise competitive again. I think that offensive line upgrade will make them competitive again. I don't think he's that
Certainly,
great. Yeah. My surprise pick is a homer. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think that no one's going to predict them to make the playoffs. They're going to have another non-losing season, and they're going to squeak in the last couple of weeks.
No way.
I love betting, Kyle. Let's do this.
Is that before or after?
They're going to have a winning season again. They're going to win their 9-10 games again. They're going to get in the playoffs and then get blown out in the first week like they always do.
Every year.
Rudolph at quarterback. No.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that contingent on Aaron Rodgers signing? Is that the only way you take that, or you think even without him?
I think they're built for the playoffs, regardless of Rudolph or Rodgers.
Rodgers is the only way they win a playoff game, in my opinion. Mason Rudolph isn't going to do it.
Well, he's got to stay healthy. Let's move on to the MVP. Who's our MVP candidate of the year? John Fredericks.
Oh, without a doubt. I got two picks, both are quarterbacks. Got to go with Jalen Daniels as my share pick. Who knows what this kid can do? I mean, who knows? The games he played last year with Washington, I mean, he's something special. You got to go back to the Marino days is the only thing I can compare him to watching him. Like, they're never out of a game. I mean, the long passes that he completes with 8 seconds before the half, guy's just incredible. But I think I said Arizona earlier, this is going to be the breakout season for Kyler Murray, right? We all know he's got the tools. We all know he's got everything there. He's got the legs. He's got the tools. They've rebuilt the offensive line there. The Cardinals played competitive football last season. If he can finally get a decent defense where they're not on the field like all that time, a decent offensive line where he's got time to pass and do his stuff, I think you could have a breakout season by Kyler Murray. Okay. And now he's watching the game film now.
You mean he's not playing video games?
No, he's actually watching the game film.
That's impressive. Well, Will Saxman, who do you got in your MVP race?
Well, I love the Jaden Daniels pick. I think another quarterback that could break out and make a push at this thing is going to be Caleb Williams. If he takes that jump in year two and the pieces that they put around him, that coach, I believe, who did they get? The guy from the Lions?
Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
They're down. I'm a Bears fan, so
There you go. Hey, I think Ben Johnson in that system, what we just saw pop off with the Lions, he could have a really special season. And then my sleeper kind of long shot right now, I'm looking at it 75-1. Jahmyr Gibbs going back to that Detroit Lions. I know it's become a quarterback award as of late, but if they get away from David Montgomery and give those touches to Gibbs, he's a really special player, and we saw what he could do last year. And I think he's another guy to kind of take a long shot on it at 75-1.
Brendan Statler, who's your MVP this year in the NFL?
I'm in between two. It seems like it's always awarded to a quarterback more often than not. So I'm going to go with my non-quarterback pick first. I think it's hard to bet against Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is going to have another outstanding year like he did last year. And for my quarterback pick, I'm going with Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to have a great year. Yeah, I think the Chargers are going to have a great year, surprise a lot of people. I'm going to give it to Justin Herbert.
Kyle Carrington, what do you got?
All right, so for me, the winner of the MVP is going to be whoever wins the AFC North. And my two guys is going to quarterbacks. One is the Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrows. If they can get over the hump and win the AFC North, I think that they can beat the Ravens this year. Then we got Joe Burrows. But if the Ravens win the AFC North, I'm going back with Lamar Jackson. I think that he deserved to win it this year. But Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrows. We're going with AFC.
Congratulations, gentlemen. You are all completely wrong on this one. It's a repeat for Josh Allen with the numbers he's going to put up in that division. He's going to run up the numbers, and I think it's going to be not close. Josh Allen, your MVP year two.
Why is everybody writing off the Dolphins?
Because of the Dolphins. For God's sakes, are you paying attention?
Yeah. No Dolphins, no hope.
Tua hasn't been healthy. That's the issue. Is can we
can't win in the cold?
Tua isn't that good anyway.
Yeah. It's a brutal situation. I think they might get rid of Tyreek Hill too before the season starts. It seems to be a bad situation there. He threw up the peace sign leaving his last game. So yes, it seems like trouble in paradise down there in Miami.
All right, let's go to the Super Bowl winning team this year.
Did you say trouble in paradise?
Yes, trouble in paradise.
Sounds like the West Virginia University Mountaineer baseball team to me, but go ahead.
We'll move there shortly. Let's go to the Super Bowl winning team this year, John Fredericks.
Oh, I tell you what, it's wide open, but I'm going with Washington. Wow, I'm going Washington. You know what? This team is so undervalued with that quarterback, with their veterans they've got on that line. And you remember on that Eagles game, although the Eagles won and covered, I guess that was a championship game. I don't remember. But in that playoff game, 3 times Washington was driving the ball and fumbled 3 times. Those 3 turnovers turned that game. And each time they were driving, Eagles really never stopped them legitimately. Even coming out of the second half, they went down and scored. And then they were going down to score again when they turned it over. And I think when you're playing in that NFC East, right, it's like steel sharpens steel. I mean, every other week you're playing Dallas, you're playing Philadelphia. I mean, these are good football teams. So I think they're getting better. I think their defense is going to get better. I think they had a good draft. And I think Washington wins it all. Let's make DC great again.
That's a stretch. Let's go to Brandon Statler. Who's your Super Bowl winner?
I'm just hoping we don't get another Taylor Swift Super Bowl. We need a break from those. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I think that the AFC is going to come down to Buffalo and Kansas City yet again. I mean, Buffalo's got to beat them at some point, right?
No,
never.
Were you not around for their previous run of Super Bowls?
I was not alive at the time, but no, I am aware of that history.
It's not good. It's not good history.
So I'd rewind that tape and go, let's a little introspection here.
Realistically, who I think wins is San Francisco. If I had to make a bet today, but I mean, it's
a long
way
shot.
Too early. It's way too early. I'm telling you, they're going to rebound. Brock Purdy's going to work magic this year.
Kyle Carrington and then Will Sanchez. Kyle, go ahead.
49ers do have the easiest schedule, so they have a chance. But My Super Bowl pick coming out of the AFC North, I think that the Bengals is going to win the regular season AFC North, and then I think that the Ravens is going to come out of the wild card and actually win a Super Bowl. So I think that we're going Lamar Jackson gets his first Super Bowl ring. And then if I had a long slot sleeper pick, I would go with my Chicago Bears. I think that they have a chance. I think it's going to be a battle of the North.
Dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Battle of the North.
They're not even going to make the playoffs.
How much of a stretch is my pick now?
John, we're going to implement drug testing here on this show.
All right, you guys look out for Ben Johnson. I'm telling you.
The
Ben
49ers
Johnson on offense and Dennis Allen on
That would
defense.
be like that would be like me coming on air and saying, I'm going to take a shot with the Titans and win the Super Bowl. We're just
It's not equivalent. It's not equivalent. The Bears are not as bad as the Titans. The Bears are in a good position this year. So you guys keep on sleeping. Bear down.
Hey, maybe the Pope has a lot of sway in this thing, so he's got to be a Bears fan.
He's a Bears fan.
Will Sachs, the White Sox are going to come back too. Will Sachs, where are you on the Super Bowl?
If I had to pick one team right now, I think it's the Detroit Lions. Seems to be that everybody forgot that they were the 1 seed coming out of the NFC. Fantastic in the regular season. Lost Aiden Hutchinson early. We're going to get him back. I believe in Dan Campbell. I believe in everything that he's been preaching. So I think that they already have the team to do it, and they just kind of got unlucky the way that the Commanders came in and smacked them in the playoffs. And I think that that's going to really hunger this team to get them where they need to be. But
good point.
I'll join in on Kyle. I'll say that I just looked at the Bears plus 160 to make the playoffs. I think that that's definitely worth a little bit of an investment if that's what you're thinking, Kyle.
That's not a bet we take in this household. So let's. I love the Lions Commanders for the NFC Championship game. Bills Chiefs in the AFC Championship, because the NFL just loves giving every game to the Kansas City Chiefs. And don't call in, don't text, don't write. It's a sham. The system is rigged to get Taylor Swift on television. Let's just call it for what it is. The evidence is plain. The evidence is clear. We will never get away from the robust cheating that goes on in the NFL to get Kansas City up to the game, and they'll get there. But I think Buffalo Bill it'll be the Lake Erie series, the Lake Erie Super Bowl. I don't know where it is this year, but I think that's the Bills and the Lions this year.
I agree with you on the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes gets every single call. So and it's been going on forever, and it really is a scandal. I'm not saying that they sit there and map it out, but he gets the benefit of every doubt. He gets every single call, and I think the NFL really has to take a hard look at these Chiefs games because it's biased towards Mahomes. Everybody said there's not an NFL fan on earth, if you're not a Chiefs fan, that doesn't believe that he gets every call goes his way, every single one of them. And
it's not close.
No, everybody believes that because you see the games, right? And that they'll get a PI call, and then the other team will be on the field to be the exact same play, and they don't get a flag. I mean, Mahomes gets every single flag. If you touch him, it's 15. You can't touch the guy, so it's all nonsense, and everybody sees it.
Well, going back to our first conversation, well, as long as he wins it, that's all that cares. It's all that matters. Doesn't matter.
Right.
The Chiefs have won 17 consecutive games that are 1-score games. They don't lose 1-score games. That's one of the craziest stats that you'll ever see. I mean, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, it always seems that call just goes their way. And Kyle's Bears, I think they were on the wrong side of that last year. I think they lost like 6 consecutive 1-score games. So if these are the things that can switch easily in the luck ratings, or however you want to look at that, and to some it's not luck, but that's something to keep an eye on, because the Chiefs are close to being bad. I'm telling you, I don't think that this magic can go forever. I would love to see them miss the playoffs. I'm getting tired of them as well as everybody else. So
hey, speaking of Andrew Luck, what you guys think of him taking the new general manager's position for Stanford football? What you guys think of that?
We're seeing that all over. We're seeing that all over with players taking general manager positions all over. Like Steph Curry is a general manager of, I think, Davidson's men's basketball team. And so I think it's just a new trend to get big names in there to try to boost NIL and get just
Is
change.
NIL is the whole NCAA's thing NIL today, Chris, on our rundown? Is that
It is. It's coming up next. I don't want to leave the NFL just yet because we were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. We've been talking about placing bets. Does anyone want to bet against Kansas City Chiefs on a weekly basis?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
The answer is no. Money line Kansas City Chiefs every week. You take that 9 times out of 10, right?
Yeah. Wait to get them live in the fourth quarter when they're down. Yeah.
Yeah, because they win every game.
17.
They win every game. This doesn't matter. Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
Every game. Mahomes is going to win the game if it's within his reach. Mahomes is going to go downfield, win the game.
Right. I mean, the calls they get, and because the video evidence is so contrary to the reality of what they're calling on the field, the evidence is overwhelming. I think that they're getting way too many calls, and I think that erodes the game, right? But we don't care about integrity of the games. Yeah, I'm gonna keep counterpunching that one, guys. So let's move into NIL, and then we'll go top of the hour with a little Rosie's action here. What do we think about the NIL program overall? William, I'm going to go to you because we've had private conversations when you were at the University of South Carolina and you were a manager of the basketball team and they were recruiting Zion Williamson, and you heard the conversations going on. What's it going to take to get Zion Williamson to come to South Carolina for one season? So you don't have to go into those conversations and dime out anybody, but what's your pullback now having seen collegiate basketball at that level? You've known the recruiting conversations. What do you see it today? Is it a good thing?
It is a good thing to get that money to come over the table now. The money was always out there. It was always flowing. When you have so many eyes on the game already, that money was going to get its ways into the players' hands one way or another. I just like the way that it's going now. The one thing that I would change is the free transfers that's going on. I would say you get one freebie, and then after that, you would have to sit a season. But no, it's good for these kids. It's good for their kids' families. They've been due this money. They are the superstars of these programs. You're talking about coaches like Dabo Swinney making $7-8 million a year. They're not the stars of these programs long term. The players are, and they need to be making some money in this. And it's better for us to get eyes on it and now try to find a way to regulate it and keep some sort of system to it all. I think that's what's missing right now, but that'll come. But as a whole, I think NIL was a great idea, and we're just needing to flesh out some of the rough edges right now.
Right. Brendan Statler.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with the players being paid, but I agree in a way that there needs to be some type of regulation, in my opinion, with the transfer portal. I mean, you see players transfer almost every year. It truly is like free agency in professional sports. And I think if you continue to have players transfer from school to school like we've seen over the last few years, I think that's going to be very bad for college athletics. So I'd like to see something adjusted with that.
Kyle Carrington, you're in the mix of this stuff. What's going on?
I think we're all in agreement for the transfer portal. It's school. There's no way that these guys are getting all their credits to transfer from school to school every year to graduate on time. I don't understand how that's even a possible thing. So we want these guys to get education because sports don't last forever. That's one thing. As far as NIL go, I've been keeping up with the House versus NCAA settlement, and it's looking like they're moving towards schools doing revenue sharing and paying up to 22% revenue to their players. And I don't think that that's sustainable. Looking at Pitt, 2023, 2024, they made $69 million in revenue, but they spent $108 million in expenses. So that means they're already at a $40 million deficit. You add the 22% revenue, that's another $15 million. So now they're at a $55 million deficit. These schools can't sustain that paying 22% revenue and stuff like that. And then if guys do get external NIL deals, those are going to be made public, anything over $600. I don't think that these young men should be, and young women should have their finances in public databases and just think just at this age. So the NIL is not sustainable right now in the landscape that it's going at, but I think that we all in agreement that the transfer portal has to change. There's no reason that a kid should play for 5 schools in 5 years, 4 schools in 4 years, 4 schools in 5 years. It's ridiculous.
John Fredericks, you're seeing this up close and personal.
Yes, very up close and very personal, as I have a player right now in the game. When this ruling comes down from the judge in San Francisco, which has got to be before July 1st, so it's probably going to be end of May, early June, the facade of amateur athletics, Kyle, ends that day. Because basically each team will have up to, I know it's 22% of the revenue, but each team is going to be capped, we believe right now, at about $20 million to pay out. Now, the problem is with that's just paying people to play, right? And that's going to cover everything: football, basketball, baseball, all the revenue sports and the Olympic sports if they choose to do that. Scholarships go into that as well. So you giving all these free scholarships out, that hurts the team. If you just take one example, which I'm close to, West Virginia, 6 months ago or 3 months ago, the AD, Ren Baker, was faced with a $10 million gap. Like, they didn't have $22 million to pay out. They had $12 million to pay out. So they had a $10 million gap. Ohio State already had the $22 million. So the bigger schools have all the money. So this is one facet of it, is pay to play. You're going to get a salary, right? It's going to be taxes taken out. You're going to get a salary, and everybody's going to have to negotiate it. So then Baker had to go out and raise money like a madman to close that gap so that Rodriguez, the new coach, can be competitive in recruiting players. That's the new game now. That's the payment plan. They're going to get paid to play. Then what goes into it is, well, what if you're not meeting your grades? You still get paid or you get fired? I mean, if you're not meeting your minimum GPA, are you still going to draw a paycheck academically? That's not even talked about. Nobody knows how that's going to work. Then you get to the NIL, which is the Wild West. When the NIL was set up, it was name, image, and likeness, and you would get a sponsor, and they would sponsor you, and you would do things for them, and you would get money. My son right now, Joe Fredericks, has an NIL deal, and it's not bad, right? And he's got to go out and do certain things for that on the weekends when they're not playing, day off, etc. But there's no parameters on this. What's happening now is big donors are giving enormous amounts of money. There's no regulations. It's the Wild West. So basically, you got Louisiana State baseball saying, well, where's somebody going to go out there and buy the best players available, get them in the portal, buy them all? That's what their donors are giving them for NIL. There's got to be parameters around that. How are you going to manage it in a free market? I have no idea. What the academics are going to be, I have no idea. And all of this has to come down. And then you've got, as you guys said, you've got the free and open portal. So everybody is a perpetual free agent. If you don't like your PT, if you don't like the coach, if you don't like anything going on, you're out. And now here's the biggest problem with it, and we can't do anything about it because it isn't going to change. There's no player development. That's now gone away, Chris. This is the saddest thing about this whole system now. There's no player development. West Virginia University baseball has no player development. They had it under Macy. Now they don't. Now it's who's in the portal, who can we get, what senior, what junior from D2 is going to come in and set our team for 2026. This is basically it. So the days of, I'm going to recruit high school and I'm going to develop them. And, by the time they're a junior, they're going to be a starter. And, they put on weight. They went in the weight room. All that's gone, right? They're not performing. You go out, you get somebody else. It's a sad state of affairs, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. NIL is basically warmed over AAU. This is what happens at the youth level experience for a lot of kids in this country. It's not good for them. They need to go straight to contracts, get rid of the portal. You're under contract. You want to do a multi-year deal with Duke, you do a multi-year deal with Duke. But I also think from the regulatory standpoint, for the benefit of these young kids who can be, look, Cooper Flagg just turned 18. He's going to be he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft from Maine. Who had that on their bingo card? Nobody, right? Nobody had that kid, years ago coming up and being that guy. But you need to protect these kids first and foremost. To Kyle's point about academics, it's one thing to get an education. It's another thing to blow the money you've been given. And I think it's really important for these kids that there is some structure around protecting the money that they are given for the long-term benefit of the kid and his or her family. And that means managing it well and protecting it and cordoning it off and say, you can't have access to all this until certain ages are reached, because you are blowing it for these kids. This is a generationally changing moment for these families. And if you just let the vultures come in and prey on these kids, it is not doing them any justice or any good for the rest of their lives. And that would be the real crime. That would be the real crime. Now, I'm not going to have any problems with Duke being, suckered by some kid, right? And going, I'm going to take more money to go to Clemson. I don't care. The game is the game. People are going to watch it. But if you can lock up kids in 2 and 3, 4-year contracts, do it. That should be part of the contractual relationship they have.
What they've not addressed, though, is the academic piece of this, right? And maybe it'll come out in her ruling. But let's say you're playing football for, Ohio State, and you're getting paid $150,000 or $200,000, and now all of a sudden you go through the fall semester, and you've not met your minimum GPA. What happens? Do you still get paid?
I think that's part of the contractual relationship that we're moving to. I think it's just a farce to say you got to have 9 credits in the fall semester if you're playing for Ohio State, Georgia, Texas. Look, if you're going to pay a kid that much money, Arch Manning, should he go to class during the fall season? Yeah, he should, in my estimation. But should you force him to do it? Look, this is professional sports. Lift the veil. It's over. Those days are gone.
Right,
man.
Look at Angel Reed.
If that kid wants to get a degree, tie it to his opening of the investment fund, right? Tie it to the money. Like, you want to get this early, you want to draw out the money earlier, get a degree by the time you're 25, through how many years it takes to pile up all the credits.
Look at Angel Reese. When she was at LSU, they stopped letting her go to class because she was so popular, and they said it was a distraction to the classroom. How is that a college kid's life? Like, she can't get the hands-on experience in the classroom. Now she got to take online, which maybe she's a better hands-on learner. Yeah. Who knows? I don't know how, like, her personal experience, but maybe it was better for her. But just that option right there, that's not how it should be. Like, kids should be kids.
William,
no. It got away from.
William, you want to blow?
It's a gross overcorrection to what was in place before, though, because you have to think that before all of this, players were on 1-year scholarships and the coaches could take them away based on performance, and you just didn't have anywhere to go. And even if you wanted to continue your academic career at the school, sorry, now you have to pay your way because I have head counts and I have a certain amount of scholarships that I can give out. So the system that was in place before this was better in some respects, but I think overall was a much worse product. And now you have coaches that are leaving the whole system, like Tony Bennett, who was one of college basketball's, superstar head coaches, where he was building these programs through, player development over 4 and 5 years. Now it's just not the case. So, he said, I'm done with this. I'm not going to be, listening to kids tell me where they're going to go and dictate to me when I'm the coach. But before that, coaches used to dictate every single piece of that player's life. So, we're just in the Wild West right now, as John said. So, we'll see what happens.
But
next.
The stories you told me, William, about the players who were, at South Carolina, who were taking their classes online.
Oh yeah, well they were taking the classes. Yeah, it was about who was doing the tests and who was doing the homework. Yeah, that was maybe a little bit of a different story.
That's been going on forever, though, boys.
It's been going on forever. Yeah, that's the shame.
That's been going on forever. Yeah. You got to remember, this is the NCAA. There's probably a great acronym in there, but these guys are clueless. They are clueless. They were shitty before we got on here. They're terrible now, and this thing is way past them. They have no idea what they're doing. That's why. Why do you think Saban left? He's like, there's no good spot for me. I'm not going to let these kids run the asylum, and I've got a legacy. I'm out.
Well, I think you're going to see conferences talk about leaving the NCAA altogether, because I think a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten, they'll just say we don't need to be revenue sharing with Sacramento State.
We don't.
No. We'll take all of this here. We got all the media rights, and we'll just play SEC schedules, and we'll name an SEC champion, and that'll be it. We don't need to subsidize the ACC or subsidize the Pac-12 or Pac-2 or whatever's going on now.
Let's come back to conferences and realignment. We got the ad ready to go on Rosie's game in there, Captain Producer fella. Let's tee that up. We'll take a 2-minute break. We ready to go? Because we're going to come back and do conference realignment. We're going to split off revenue, non-revenue sports, and should we go back to the old conferences and just blow the doors open on football, basketball, and probably baseball, excluding the SEC? Let's do that. Okay, are we good to go? All right.
The best part about waking up in the morning is a great cup of coffee, and I get this every day with my 1775 coffee. It's rich, it's bold, best tasting coffee I've ever had, single origin, farmed in Bolivia, 7,000 feet. It's always fresh, roasted daily. This is the best coffee you're ever going to get. Go to 1775coffee.com, 1775coffee.com, promo code Godzilla, 10% off. It's going to
It's the Sports Pickin' Show with the guys in the know. Presented by WestVirginiaSportsNation.com. Godzilla wins!
For entertainment purposes only.
They make me say that.
All right, we're back here on the John Fredericks Media Network, the Godzilla Wins gang, talking sports, talking betting. We're going to get into the bets here coming up for the NBA and NHL. Please check your current odds. But let's and we'll come back into that, and then we'll go into the PGA and transition over to Jay Delsing's show coming up after that on golf. Big doings on the PGA Tour over the weekend here. But let's get into the conference realignment. The whole nature of college sports is changing. How long before the colleges finally say, look, here's the deal. It's football, it's basketball, and that's about it. There is no reason why West Virginia should be flying all up to Arizona for a conference game for volleyball, right? There's no upside for the athletes. There's no upside for the schools. Just call it for what it is. This is about football and basketball and making money and doing it in a far more professional manner, doing a conference realignment, and I think go to the relegatory process that the Europeans have for football, their football, soccer. We call it soccer now globally because we have a pope from Chicago. Let's talk about that. let's talk about that right now. Brendan, what's your if you could wave the magic wand, what would you do for college sports?
I agree with everything you said completely. I think at some point there is going to be some type of realignment because as you said, the smaller sports, there is no point. Like, I mean, just look at we mentioned West Virginia going to Arizona. This is happening throughout every big conference now. You look at the Big Ten. You have Penn State, their lower sports like baseball, going out to USC. I mean, there's no benefit, in my opinion, for any of that. You're right. It's all about football and basketball. That's what draws the most views. That's what sells the most tickets. I don't think that the bigger markets are going to want to subsidize the smaller teams anymore. I think it's unavoidable that something is going to change here soon. And I think something does have to change. It just doesn't make sense.
The math just isn't going to be there for the athletic departments to be able to compete to pay the players. They go, we can fly across the country to play volleyball, or we can pick up this 4-star to come to help out our team, right? And we got to pay him or pay our field hockey team to schlep across the country. William, what do you got?
I think it was best put on display when Stanford and Cal were playing in the ACC tournament in Greensboro last year. Two California schools in the ACC now. None of it makes sense, but to fix it now is going to be a bigger issue, I think, than what you have pitched, because it's going to be all about the money and what the conferences are going to allow that money and how they're going to allow that money to be spent. So you're going to see teams trying to break into the SEC. I think there have already been talks about Florida State and Clemson possibly joining. Teams are going to come and go as they please, and it's going to shift the scales of power away from the conference heads now, and it's going to go more to a school by school basis. But there's going to come a point, I think, in the very near future where the schools realize that the conferences need them a lot more than they need the conference.
Okay, Jay Delsing.
Yeah, guys, I think what we're seeing is a precursor to the eventually. Will, what you said I loved is it's all about the money, and then when it stops being about the money, go back to the money. This is all about the money, and we're watching these. I couldn't tell you who's in what conference anymore, and what the universities are gonna get together, and they're all gonna say, why do we need the NCAA anymore? We'll strike our own media deals with the television networks. We'll redo this thing. The NCAA hasn't done us any favors anyway. I mean, what is the benefit for the NCAA? Now, what's interesting to me is, because I played college golf, this was 100 years ago, but at UCLA, we got $5,000 for the entire year for us to travel. And we traveled all across the country. So we raised our own money. But I mean, we needed, I've got daughters that are D1 volleyball players, all of these non-rev programs. I don't see them going away. I just see them maybe getting lopped into a different hoop and saying, all right, you guys are going to go over there. We'll have to try to figure out those economics. But we've been eating money from those sports forever anyway. Golf never made any money, but people are not going to wind up losing their golf programs. Maybe they go to benefactors and say, hey, we need $1 million a year to keep these 5 sports going. I don't know, I'm making it up. But I don't see any benefit for the NCAA. I don't see where they're adding anything to this party. And, they open the door here. Pandora's box is open. It's a absolute mess the way it is now, without question.
Well, I think it's a mess because it's so uncertain. And I think we do have a bifurcation in the market between revenue sports, football and basketball, and non-revenue sports, which are basically the Olympic sports. And we're going to have to address that honestly and forthrightly for the benefit of the sports in general, but also the students in the colleges and universities out there, to just be honest about what we're really dealing with here. There is no reason why Virginia and Virginia Tech should fly across the country to play field hockey, swimming, and whatever, when they could go against Duke and Carolina and Kentucky, and that's legitimate.
Those words
that's
are not
legitimate
in the
expenses
for the NCAA.
Well, if they don't get their heads out of their, I know if they don't get their heads out of their backside, Congress will step in. I mean, this is just tailor-made this is a pinata for Donald Trump. Let's go to Kyle Carrington. I'm not going to do politics. I'm just saying, eventually, someone's going to have to decide this thing. If the NCAA doesn't do it, it's going to be decided for them. Kyle Carrington.
Looking at it from like the standpoint of a school like USC, when they were in the Pac-12 or the Pac-12, they were facing a deficit around $200,000 a year, so they didn't make the revenue. But even with travel this year, it's looking like they're going to make revenue being in the Big Ten. So it's looking like the conference realignment is working out for them financially, which is why they don't need the NCAA, and why, I mean, the NCAA is going to make all these regulations on how the NIL is going to be spent. And some schools, like I said, it's not going to be sustainable with the revenue sharing. So we're going to see something happen big, and I'm not sure what that's going to be. But what needs to happen is they need to get away from the NCAA taking control of how much revenue sharing could be here, revenue sharing could be there, because it's not fair for all. So it's just no way that it can work that way. And we'll see what happens, but it's just not sustainable, and it's not going in the right direction for the NCAA.
It's fundamentally unfair. It's fundamentally dishonest. You're just not being forthright. The TV contracts, and that's going to drive the decision making here. That's why USC makes money in the Big Ten. Yeah. Let's just be honest. It is what it is. Let's let the NBA playoff. What do we have looking tonight in the NBA? Will Saxman, what are we looking at?
Sorry, I was on mute there. There are no games tonight. It is the only game of the weekend. It's going to be a 3:30 game, I believe, and it is OKC at home against the Nuggets for Game 7. Showing right now, Nuggets are 8.5-point dogs. So I already said at the top of the show, I think that's going to be a play for me, just being at Game 7. I think they're going to try to keep it close, and this really becomes like a de facto MVP game, because it's really coming down to SGA and Nikola Jokic going for his 4th in 5 years. And I think that's really going to be the headline of this game. And I think Jokic finds a way to at least keep it close. But just because they've been there, really, this is a very young Thunder team. Yes, best record in the regular season, but this is not the regular season. And you have to kind of lean on the vets in these spots. And that's what I like for this weekend in the NBA.
What's the over-under on that one? Is it 230?
Let me see.
213.
213.
I kind of like the over in Denver in this one. Jay, what do you got in this one?
Like I told you last week, I don't bet hoops anymore, but I like the 8.5 is a lot of points, and I like Jokic, so I would take Denver. I'd stay away from the total though.
Okay, Kyle Carrington.
I'm going the other way from everybody. Everybody's on that Denver 8.5. I think that OKC is going to blow this one out the way. Game 7 home team. We got Aaron Gordon out. He's doubtful, so he's not totally out yet, but he's doubtful. It's a hamstring injury, just like the injury we've seen Steph Curry have. There's no way he's going to be able to be ready and 100% for that game. We're in OKC. You've seen the atmosphere in OKC. They're hungry. Their fans get after it. It's going to be a blowout. I would take OKC. I wouldn't take OKC 15.5, but I wouldn't be surprised to see 15 to 20-point game here.
Ooh,
love it.
Brendan Statler.
I actually like the 8.5. I think it's going to be a close game. It's been a close series to this point, to state the obvious. Jokic, his presence down in the paint picks up a lot of points, but I think OKC is the better team between the two. I think it's going to be a close matchup. On when is that? Sunday?
Sunday night, 3:30.
Sunday,
3:30.
Yeah, it's going to be a close matchup. I like the 8.5.
There's a lot of tee times being canceled out in Oklahoma these days. William, talk about Loud City. How loud does it get into that arena?
It's unbelievable. Dad and I went out there when they played the Heat in the finals, when it was the Westbrook, KD, and Harden team, and that was like really as they were coming up into what they are now. But those fans, I mean, they love that team, and it's the only professional sports team there. So all year round, this is all they talk about, and it gets rowdy. It's going to be a hostile environment for sure. So yeah, definitely agree with what Kyle said there. They are hungry.
They're hungry. They're still young. I like Denver to cover, but OKC OKC to win myself. Probably staying away from the over/under, but I do like that. That 213 is very tantalizing, if nothing else. NHL. Let's talk about the NHL. What do we got here? Panthers, Maple Leafs. Leafs tied it up 2-0 last night. What do we like in that game 7? Jay Delsing.
Man, so I've got probably a dozen really good buddies that live in Toronto. They are the worst hockey fans on the planet. They've already said that every Leaf player is booking his tea time. I mean, they have. So I sent this great group text out last night and there was a few words in there I can't explain to you or say now, but because they were all dogging their team, and they go down to Florida and win 2-0 last night. So now it's game 7 at the what's it called, the ACC Center now. Which sucks compared to the old Leaf Garden, but it's going to be it's going to be wild out on the ice. I really believe Florida gets it done just because of the grit. But
God,
I want Toronto to win.
I
just don't trust a goalie. I don't trust Wall. He's a St. Louis kid. He grew up out here. I just don't trust him in a game 7. I think that the puck has been bouncing in the craziest directions in this playoff series. It's been unbelievable, and guys have been losing and winning games in the last second and fractions of seconds. It's been exciting as hell, but the NHL wants Toronto to win this game big time.
Yeah, they do.
They do not want Florida to win this game, but man, I just don't know. We got to have for Toronto to win, we've got to have the Toronto Stars to show up and turn out. We need Matthews to have a big game. Nylander, all these guys, they need to do something. Otherwise, Barkov, Tkachuk, Bennett, they're going to muck up the center of the ice. That thing is going to be it's going to be like WWE. And the referees will blow the whistle. They will not.
They'll let it play. How much of a dagger in the heart? How much of a dagger in the heart would it be for the Leafs to lose Game 7 at home?
Oh, sex! It will. These fans
right.
will. I mean, they're the worst fans anyway, and they'll just.
Right.
I don't know.
It's almost too cruel to suggest it this far out. Let's go to Brendan Statler. You're wearing the Penguins gear today. What do you like in the Leafs and the Panthers?
Well, I'll start off by saying 3 things are certain in life: death, taxes, and the Toronto Maple Leafs choking in the second round. I'm going with Florida. The Leafs always find a way to blow it in the second round, and I have no faith that this year is going to be any different. Give me the Panthers.
Kyle Carrington.
Give me Sam Reinhart and Alexander Barkov big time. I would take the Florida Panthers -1.5 or +190 right now. I'm heavy on the Panthers. I know that the Leafs is going to choke this thing away.
Every year.
Panthers are already the favorite. I mean, it's almost painful to watch the Leafs because it's a great market. The history, their original 6 team. You almost want to root for them, but you don't root for the overdog. They've become the underdog because they underperform. They're an overdog franchise because they're just a dominant franchise, but they're not a dominant franchise. It's like the Red Sox for years. You shouldn't be there because you can't be there, and until you earn it. I think I would probably enjoy watching them lose in Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final, but still I haven't made up my mind on this one yet. Let's go to the Dallas Stars.
Wait a minute, I got to weigh in on this.
You don't have to. You choose.
You guys like losing money, right? That must be it. You like what was it? Ben Franklin said, "A fool is money or soon parted." I've been saying this since day 1 of the Stanley Cup. This is not your father's Maple Leafs, okay? They have a defense. They score goals. They're tough. They're physical. They're going home. They're 3-3. They are going to win this thing. This is one of my best bets of the hockey season. Toronto is going to win this series, and I think it's going to be like a 5-1 game. I don't think it's going to be close. I love the Leafs in this game. and you guys are nuts. By the way, Jay Delsing, talking about a fool is money parting. So I know you're coming on today, and I bet Kansas City Royals and Cole Reagan's last night against your Cardinals. And I'm like, this is probably bad juju because Jay's coming on, and I get beat 10-3. So that's how much I know.
John, we have no clue what Cardinal team is playing. The first 3 weeks of the season, they look like a bad Double-A team. They did. And now, I don't know. Everybody's hitting. The pitching clicked. They brought a couple kids up from the minor leagues. It's fun.
Royals are overrated.
Yeah, Bobby Witt.
So John Fredericks, you're relatively new to hockey fandom.
Yes.
And you're so certain that the Maple Leafs will get off the schneid, will break the curse. Is there a curse on the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, because I've not followed hockey my whole life. I don't have the scars of the history that you guys have, right? I just look at the teams, and I knew that when I looked at the way Toronto rebuilt their defense last season, I said at the beginning of the season, this team is going to go deep in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But I tell you what, they're and at home. I mean, the idea that you think that at home, they just think about this. They just went to Florida and beat the Panthers on the road. This game, everybody figured this thing would get closed out. Yep. Now they go back to Toronto. It's not even only the fans in the Toronto Coliseum where they play. They're going to have another 30,000 fans outside. This thing is going to be wild.
Can Craig Berube make a difference, guys? That's the only thing. He was here for 4 years. I got a chance to meet him. He is as tough and good a coach as there comes, but he doesn't have his skates on. I don't know. I just don't know.
All right, it's the line's Florida 120 minus 125 right now. Make some money. Pick the Leafs per John Fredericks. I like the pick. Let's go to tonight's game. Jets Stars in Dallas, Game 6. Brandon?
Given that it's in Dallas, I'm going with the Stars. Connor Hellebuck has underperformed on the road throughout the playoffs this year. I think the Jets season ends tonight. William?
Yep. I completely agree. I think it's the Stars at home. They've been playing really well. Hellebuck, like you said, hasn't been that strong in the playoffs. So give me the Stars to get it done at home tonight.
Kyle Carrington, minus 155 for the Stars. What do you got?
Oh, man. Home team takes it. The Dallas Stars is my Stanley Cup prediction before the playoffs even began. So I'm rocking with the Dallas Stars. We got Mikko Rantanen, 9 goals and 10 assists in his last 10 games. He stay hot. He get a goal and an assist, and Dallas wins it.
All right, before we jump into that, who you like, Edmonton or Dallas, real quick?
Dallas.
Kyle, just quick. I know you, but how many games? What are you talking about here? 6, 5?
Dallas is 6. Dallas is 6.
Jay Delsing, Stars, Jets.
I know my man to my right here, John, is going to go. He put the mortgage on the Jets, and so I since the Jets kind of bounced the Blues out, I'm on Dallas. I'm going with the herd here. I just don't think Hellebuck can play on the road in the playoffs. I mean, the dude is. He makes himself small. He's 6'4" and 220, and the puck just seems to go through him.
John Fredericks, Jets Stars minus 155.
He's the best goalie in the National Hockey League.
Regular season.
Winnipeg Jets
just not on the road.
They were built for this game. They were built for this series. This is how they built their team. Now, Kyle and I are on the opposite side of Stanley Cup picks, so one of us is going to advance. We'll have to see what happens. But I think that Hellebuck comes up with a game of his career tonight. Everybody thinks he's going to tank on the road. I mean, remember against, what was it, the Blues, 3 of the road games, they actually pulled him out of the net and put somebody else in. He was that bad. So I think he redeems himself tonight. I think the Jets win this game in Dallas, just like the Leafs beat the Panthers. And then I think the Jets go home and shut Dallas out again.
Wow. You parlay in that thing?
Yes.
Wow. I like the Jets. I like Canadian teams this year. I think there's a lot of juice north of the border right now. I think they're feeling it. And I'm looking at an all-Canadian Stanley Cup. I think we'll have Edmonton and the Jets.
It's going tonight's game is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And the key to this game is going to be end of the first period. If it's 0-0, end of the first period, Jets are going to win this game.
Next, we can't get Edmonton and the Jets. We need somebody from the Eastern Conference.
I don't know who you're going to end up with, but
that'll be the Leafs. The Leafs will take on the winner of the Jets and the Oilers.
Yeah,
okay. That's right. They'll play Carolina.
It's going to be a fun.
I think. Look, Canada has taken it on the chin for years when it comes to the Stanley Cup, and I just think there's a little bit of juju north of the border this year. We won't get into that, but I just think there's just something going on up there that we want to pay attention to, because I just like the vibe for Canada right now, and as the birthplace of North American hockey for the most part. They've been left out, and it's about time they come back.
And you know what, guys? Think about how exciting the Stanley Cup playoffs have been, and there's no legacy teams in it, right? There's no Islanders, no Rangers, no Flyers, no Penguins, right? No Red Wings, I mean, there's none of the legacy. There's no legacy teams in it, and no Boston. I mean, all the legacy teams are out. Didn't even make it. And yet it's hitting. I think I was looking the other day that their viewership is hit an all-time high. The interest in it is hit an all-time high. And there's actually now interest in the NHL hockey draft, which there was never interest in. That's now on TV, and people are actually paying attention to that. So it's going to be fun.
It's been a great uptick for the NHL. Like we've talked before, the HD TVs around the country and around the world make it far better at viewing. And I think gambling has helped because people take a closer interest. It increases the intensity of the game. And they've been very smart about programming. They'll have like a day long of 1, 3, 5, and 7 playoff games in the TV schedule, so you can just lock on and watch hockey. That's been beneficial for the NHL. Plus, they're expanding in the markets they normally don't have. You got Utah now, the Mammoth, love that logo. But for the most part, it's just it's a great product, and I think it's showing it's the benefit of the game itself to the fans, because the old saying was you just got to go watch it live. You got to watch it live. You got to watch it live. Now you can watch it on big screen TV and go, I'm watching it live, and it's damn good entertainment. Let's go to West Virginia baseball, because we're going in the college baseball playoff season. John, the Wahoos and the Hokies have split. They got a rubber game today. The thinking being that if the Wahoos, the Cavaliers, Virginia, win Game 3 today over the weekend, that Virginia will go to the regional in West Virginia. But where does West Virginia stand right now?
They're not going to host a home regional. This series has been a catastrophe for them. A couple of weeks ago, West Virginia baseball had an opportunity to host a regional and then perhaps host a super regional if they were to win that. Now they're going to do neither. The 2 losses to Kansas has exposed a lot of deficiencies within this team, and there's trouble in paradise. And let me just tell you that they were very fortunate this season. They played a very weak schedule. Not only their early games and midweek games was horrible, but also they played the bottom feeders of the Big 12. I mean, that's just the way the schedule worked out. They didn't play Arizona State. They 3 games against Oklahoma State on the road. 2 of them got tornadoed out. They didn't play Texas Christian. And when they played teams in the Big 12 with winning records, Arizona beat them 2 out of 3, right? Kansas State beat them 2 out of 3. Minimum, Kansas is going to beat them at home 2 out of 3. I think Kansas sweeps them today. Cracks are starting to show on this team. They haven't hit. They're now facing legit pitching, and their bullpen has been overworked. Myers has been pitched too many balls. I mean, he gave up a 3-run homer last night. He's going to go in the first. He's going to be a first-round draft pick, probably top 3 or 4 or 5. Top 5 could be 3. This kid is unbelievable. Bessinger, too many innings. He's out. Now they've got kids they're bringing in. The one silver lining last night was Robbie Porco came in, who got bounced off the team after a couple of bad outings. Then he off the conference roster. Then he hurt his shoulder. He bounced back with 4 great innings. That was probably the best news for them last night. But I think they're going to get swept today. I think they're going to get beat in the tournament in Arlington. They're going to go to a regional, but they're not going to host.
Anyone want to chip in here on West Virginia baseball, college baseball in particular? William, you watched SEC baseball for a number of years, going to South Carolina games. What are we looking at going into the World Series?
It all comes down to matchups and momentum. And John said it, if they're backpedaling at this time of the year, it's really hard for a team to turn that around with not much runway. And then you have to go into these regionals, and it's a very hostile environment. It gets rowdy, but it's also a sport where anything can happen, and you just need to win one, and it's going to be awesome to see.
So important. The first game is so important.
Absolutely. It dictates everything. Everything builds off of that and the decisions that are made. So, if you believe in the coaching and you believe in the roster makeup, and this West Virginia team is just known for being deep and playing gritty baseball. They're going to hustle, and they're not going to go away easily. So, they can still make a run at it, but it's all about momentum at this time of year. So they really need to win this Kansas game today, and
they really need to win this game today.
It's a must win.
They really need to win this game today. They haven't had a lot of must win games. Of course, they won the conference because Arizona State got beat by Oklahoma State on Friday night, so they kind of backed in. But hey, a win's a win. They put themselves in position to back in. They really need to win this game today. There was an ugly game yesterday at the press conference. Coach Steve Saban even said, "This is the worst game we played." I'm not going to call names out, but we had in the 7th inning, runner on first base, nobody out, gets a hit, ground ball to third. He thinks it's foul, doesn't hustle down the second base, gets thrown out, should have been safe. Then we got a wild pitch with a guy on second base. Catcher really doesn't get after it. He scores from second base on a strike 3 wild pitch. I mean, just things like that. You can't be doing that getting into the playoffs. So they really got to turn that thing around today, and hopefully they will.
Anyone else want to chip in here on college baseball, West Virginia baseball in particular? Yeah. Otherwise, we'll move on to go ahead, Kyle. I'm
on the other end of things. I think that West Virginia got a little complacent. You clinched the conference. You're not as hungry. The job is done. So you have a 3-game losing streak. But looking at what they've done this whole year, they're first in pitching in the Big 12. They're third in batting in the Big 12. This whole season, they have contributed so much to having this successful season that I don't think these 3 games should make us jump off the bandwagon and just think that the wheels have fell off. I think that today is
the problem, Kyle, is the teams they've played with winning records. Arizona, Kansas State, Kansas, the teams they played with winning records, they've not beaten them in a single series. That to me is problematic when you're going to go on and have to beat a Tennessee or, one of these SEC teams that gets in the regionals. I think that's
but it's a small sample size. It's 3 series. It's only 3 series. I think we overreacting. I think that West Virginia is the best team in the Big 12. I think that they are the best team in the Big 12. I think that we'll see that in the Big 12 championship when they have something to play for a little more. They won a conference championship. We're going to see that they are deserving conference champions, and they're going to prove you guys wrong. I promise you.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm a West Virginia fan, so I'm hoping they win. Obviously, we're also the flagship station for them, so we're hoping they win. And but the tournament's different. It was always double elimination. Now it's one and done. So every game you get beat, one game you're out. Obviously, though, they won the conference, so they'll have the first 2 buys, which is very, very helpful. But then they'll start, you have to win 3 games when you have buys to win the thing. And so it's going to be interesting. And the other thing is they have to break the Arlington thing. They never actually won a game in Arlington. So hopefully they can win one.
All right, let's shift gears and let's go to the Preakness. Hi ho, Pimlico. Here we go. 7 o'clock start time today. The gates open at 7 o'clock there. John Fredericks, you're our guru when it comes to horse betting here. Who do you like in Pimlico this afternoon?
Journalism. He's just the best horse in the race. I don't care if it's 3 to 5, 4 to 5, even money. He's the best horse in the race. He should have won the Derby. He had a miserable trip, and still was right there. This horse is game. And look, American Promise, I think, is going to be tough. Got to be a little concerned about that. But I don't look for journalism to have the same miserable trip he had in the Derby. I think, he's got to get a little more rail space, and I think he wins handily.
William.
I'm going to split my money between Journalism and Sandman, kind of going again with the chalk, but Sandman, known as a closer, really strong horse, been running well. So I think you get him at 4-1, Journalism 8-5. So split my money between those two, and I think it'll come down, and I'll probably get an exacta with a 1-2 both ways there. Journalism 1 and Sandman 2, Sandman 1, Journalism 2. So hopefully we can multiply money there.
I'm sure Churchill Downs would prefer us. I'm sure Churchill Downs would prefer us to go to Twin Spires for our gaming opportunities. Brendan Statler, where do you see this one
horse
going?
racing is not my forte, so I'm going to have to defer to the expert John Fredericks on this, and I'm going to go with Journalism as well.
I'm down on that train too.
All right,
I'm down on
Jay
the
Delson.
Fredericks train. Let's go Journalism.
Let's go.
I got a surprise pick. I'm going with the speed in this race. So give me the speed horse. Little inexperienced horse, but I'm going to go out with Clever again on the 8 horse.
No shot, dude. No shot. No, because the problem with
his reason.
He's going to try to wire the field. You can't wire the field at the Preakness. It's a mile and 3/16. The stretch is too long. You just can't do it. The only possible chance of wiring a field with a speed horse is maybe in the Derby. If you can get some slower fractions, nobody goes after you. That seldom happens. But he's going to get pressed right out of the gate, and he can have the lead going to the top of the stretch and end up last. No shot.
I like Journalism. Great way to lose money today. All right. Because you think you're going to win. Rip your heart out.
It's the best. It's one of my favorite things to bet on, just for the simple fact that you're locked in, not blinking for like that.
And it's only 2 minutes. That's the other good thing.
Yeah.
It's only 2 minutes,
2 minutes.
right? Speaking of 2 minutes, got to go to Rosie's, man. We got to give a shout out to one of our legacy sponsors, Rosie's Gaming. Go to rosiesgaming.com. It doesn't matter where you are in Virginia. They're all over the place. They're in Hampton. That's right. Richmond, right by our studio. In Rich Vegas, Emporia, Danville, Vinton, right outside of Roanoke. Then Northern Virginia in Dumfries, where they have a hotel. Beautiful thing about Rosie, you can go upstairs. You can do OTB. You can bet the hockey games upstairs. Downstairs, they have great slot machines. And here's the thing. You get the biggest jackpots in America because they have the lowest takeout of any gaming facility in the United States, all regulated, all because of the Virginia General Assembly said, you know what? If we're going to do gambling here, we're going to protect our players. And that's what they've done. Bigger jackpots, bigger payouts. Have fun, win money. Go to rosiesgaming.com. Rosiesgaming.com for you guys out there. It's a great date night. Take your wife, take your significant other. You're going to have fun. Go to the no smoking area. There's only one little area where there's smoke and they shut the door. Everything else, non-smoking, great food, great experience. And you know what? You just may get lucky twice. rosiesgaming.com.
Well, speaking of getting lucky, who doesn't love 2 minutes of excitement? Let's watch the Preakness tonight.
Yeah.
I got you.
Thank you for playing. What man in America
I
doesn't
get it.
want
The
2 minutes of excitement.
I get it. It just hit me now. I guess you're saying this for the older guys,
apparently
right? Like Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently. We go to 2 minutes out of boredom. All right, let's go to Al.
I think what he just said is illegal, isn't it, Al? There's got to be Al Green. There's got to be some kind of FCC guideline for that.
Like I dropped one on you yesterday on the show yesterday that I still don't think you've gotten over about the fart in the elevator. Yeah. Hey, let's go to
the 2 minute thing. The 2 minute thing is that's gonna be staying with me. Look, move on to somebody else, please.
Let's go to the PGA Championship. Jay Delsing, our resident pro golfer. What do you like in the PGA closing this thing out? Last two rounds, Max Homa damn near holding out a par four.
Super cool. So Quail Hollow down in Charlotte is a great venue. One of the things that they changed about the golf course since I played down there, guys, is they build in these things called sub-air systems. So they build these systems underneath the greens that suck the water out of the greens and make the greens hard and fast, while the rest of the fairways are swampy and just absolutely underwater. So from a player standpoint, it's a very odd kind of mix. You're out here hitting your drive and it plugs and it bounces, 6 inches backwards. You land your 6-iron on the middle of the green and it bounces like it's going down the highway. So I think there was some adjusting period going on. I'm a huge Max Homa fan. I would love to see him win this thing, but I don't think he does. I'm looking at Bryson DeChambeau is 3 under par and in a place where he needs to have a big Saturday to have a chance to make this happen. I watched Scotty Scheffler play yesterday. He had no game at all for him and wound up getting the thing in at 3 under par. So it's interesting because we got Johnny Vegas and we got Matthew Pavon that are leading this thing. And man, I don't see it. I mean, it's a major championship and it's really going to be interesting. I'm looking at my Underdog stuff right now, and you guys got to check out this Underdog app because it's so fun to play. And you get Scotty Scheffler. You can bet on 70.5 over and under his strokes. Bryson DeChambeau, his number is 70.5 today. So if either one of those guys shoot under par, you can win money. I'm looking for a big name to come out of the pack. John Rahm, who's kind of playing on the Witness Relocation Tour over with Live Golf, is playing well but hadn't made any putts. If he gets off to a quick start, he might be able to be significant. But for the most part, most of the Live guys have been not heard of, not even relevant in the PGA Championship. When you go down and look at the top 10, guys, there are two names that stand out. It's Matthew Fitzpatrick, who's been playing awful in his description. He's English, so he describes it as rubbish. And then you got Scotty Scheffler. So Scheffler is lurking at fifth place, 3 shots back, and it's going to be fun. I think you're going to see some carnage up at the front end of the leaderboard today.
Kyle Carrington, what do you got in the PGA
I'm heavy on Scotty Scheffler sitting at 5 under par right now. I think Scotty Scheffler has a great Saturday. He in the top 2 by the end of the day, and then Sunday he pulls it off. So I'm looking at Scotty, but also Bryson DeChambeau. He's been hitting well, but he haven't been great on the greens. So I'm going Bryson DeChambeau to have a good Saturday as well, just to get in there.
So you like the two big names coming on and finishing this thing up. Moving day in Charlotte. Brendan Statler, who you got moving?
I'm finding it hard to bet against Scotty Scheffler. He's currently at plus 200 odds. I think he pulls it out in the end.
Max Homa, you guys, has got to be the sentimental pick. Max Homa is a cool dude. He's been on the struggle bus for about a year. He hasn't been able to. Make cuts. He's been struggling. Shot 7 under par yesterday. Would be really fun to see him at least hang in there. Cool guy.
Brendan, we get you?
Yeah.
Okay. John Fredericks, who do you like in the PGA?
I'll yield my time to Jay Delsing.
Smart play.
Because the Jay Delsing show is coming up in 6 minutes, baby. Jay Delsing on golf. It's hot.
I know. all golf all the time. Will Saxon,
Yeah,
who you
I
like?
mean, I hate to talk with like everybody else, but I mean, I love Max Homa. He's one of the most accessible guys off the course. He goes on all the podcasts, great on social media. Like Jay said, he didn't make a cut in a world event for going on a year. And then he's really played pretty decent golf over the last month. And then for him to win it, you can get him at 18-1 right now. I think that would be awesome to see, but it's hard to not have money on Scotty Scheffler the way he's been playing over the last 3 years. And you know, these tournaments, there's 72 holes for a reason. You know, it's not about how you do over the first 36. You got to come in here and close it. So that's why these guys, Jonathan Vegas, 12-1 with a 2-shot lead heading into Saturday. It's kind of crazy to me, but the odds makers know what they're doing, and they know that these guys have that dog in them to go in here and close. So give me Scotty, give me Max, and then kind of a long shot would be Victor Hovland sitting down there at 2 under. You can get him at 50-1. He's one of those guys that can get streaky and go nuclear. If he can go in today, shoot a 65 or something like that, you know, you're talking about somebody that's also got that pedigree to him. So,
Will, that's a great pick. I had Hovland at the beginning of the week. He's a great long iron player, and Quail Hollow is a super long golf course. One other guy you might want to throw a couple dollars at, Siwoo Kim. He is from a guy that hasn't won a major. He's probably the most established guy in that top 10. He could possibly get it done. His putter heads, when it goes cold, it goes cold. So that's what to look for.
Yeah, betting these odds in golf is kind of fun because even throwing small bets down at 18-1, that's a fun little bet. You know, $20, that's fun, right? Make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more special. Hard to bet against Scheffler, but he's behind. Tough to make up the number of strokes. Vegas closes it out. I think he's going to go finish it up. All right, we're closing up on the show here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Fun show. Started with Pete Rose, got a little dicey, got a little spicy. What the heck? Thanks, Pete Rose. Met him once in Houston before the World Series game. Guy was a total Class A jerk. Not the reason I want to keep him out of the Hall of Fame. He deserves that as well. But not someone you want to introduce around to your friends. Absolute jerk. He's the worst famous person I've ever met. The second worst was his teammate, Frank Robinson. I don't know what it is about the 60s Reds, but they were just Class A jerks to me personally. But that's it. Let's go around the horn. Who's the worst famous person you met, Brendan Statler, real quick?
I haven't met a lot of famous people, so I can't say who's the worst I've met, to tell you the truth.
Aside from the panel.
Aside from the panel. I can't think of anybody. Sorry.
All right, Will Saxon.
Man, I held the door open for the entire Kentucky team one year. Didn't get a single thank you. So I've always had a dismay in my heart, a special hatred for the Kentucky Wildcats and John Calipari. So, yeah, not an all over great group of guys in my experience. But I know he comes off a certain way to the public. But yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Kyle Carrington.
Not many. I haven't met many famous people that can't rub me the wrong way. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Kevin Costner. Nope. No bueno. No bueno.
Really?
Man, I could tell you a story, but I can't. Yeah.
Okay. John Fredericks.
One of the nastiest people I've ever met is Dana Bash at CNN.
I like it.
She comes off a little harsh there. So Pete Rose, Frank Robinson, Myers. Let's finish on a positive note. Who is your most famous person that you like?
I'll start.
John Fredericks.
Jose Altuve. No question about it. My son was 5 years old. We went to 6 years old. We went to an Orioles game. He was a rookie, and Joe wanted his autograph because he's small and Altuve is small, and he'd take batting practice. And Joe said, "Jose, come and sign my ball. Jose, come and sign my ball." And darn if he didn't come over, sign his ball, get a picture with him, pick him up, put him on the dugout. And one of the greatest guys in baseball ever. He loves people, loves the game, class act. I love Jose Altuve.
I got to play with Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. Unbelievable. Mic drop, do whatever.
Wow.
God.
Unbelievable.
should have ended with you on that one. My God, Kyle Carrington, best.
Terrell Pryor, great dude, great kid. Yeah, so I'm gonna go Terrell Pryor.
Oh man, I'm gonna go back to my younger days, and I'm gonna say Heath Miller. Met him at a UVA baseball. Yeah, it was a UVA football game. And I went up to get his autograph, and that's where players can like brush you off a little bit. It was kind of hush situation, but he was really cool about it, and that's something that stuck with me. I think I was maybe 10 or 12 years old at the time, so really young. But yeah, people that take the time to treat the fans right, that always sticks with you.
Former Steeler quarterback Charlie Batch. I met him at an event a handful of years ago, probably 8 years ago at this point, a long time ago, but super nice guy. Very nice guy. Was very nice to everybody. Took out so much time for the people that were there to see him. Good guy.
My famous person that I enjoyed, not in sports, was Sammy Davis Jr. When I was about 8 years old. Met him at the local golf club that we belonged to up in Michigan, and it was just one of those magical moments because he was at the top of the charts as the Candyman at the time, and all the kids came running in the neighborhood. Yeah, it was special. And I was 8 years old, and I was staring him straight in his dead eye. I'm like, he was not an all man. But yeah. Learned a lot about him later in life, though. Probably wouldn't have put the kids too close to him. Hey, John, we've had a great show. I look forward to catching up on all these sports next week as we get into the NBA and NHL finals. It's going to be a heck of a show next week, John. And thanks for having us on your network here. We hope we're doing you proud because I know you're doing a great job building this business.
Thank you. Jay Delsing next, baby.
Go wash your car. Don't go wash your
Jay
car.
Delsing.
Listen to the show.
Jay Delsing, all golf all the time. You're going to hit him straighter and longer than you ever have before, all for 2 minutes.